All right. Well, thank you for coming along to the Energy and Emissions stall today. I'm going to hand you over to Glen Morris. And as I've been introducing Glen, if there's something to know about sustainability in your home that he doesn't know about, it's not worth knowing. So without further ado, Glen, welcome, and the room's yours.
Thanks, Simon. I'm going to talk fast. I'm going to go 15 minutes. So I know you're smart people, so I won't dwell on the subjects too long, but just give you a feel for opportunities for sustainability and energy efficiency in your homes. My background is I've lived off-grid almost all my adult life. So I've had to learn about energy efficiency really just for necessity reasons. This is where I live, Mount Tullibawong, in the Yarra Valley. It's an off-grid community started back in 1974. You can see our little solar farm is just going in there at the bottom when I took this picture. So we've now got a small solar farm, particularly for our EVs. What I do in my day job really is training and consultancy. I'm sitting on the Australian Standards Committee for Renewable Energy. I help write all the inverter standards, battery standards, PV standards. But I also do a lot of online training as well for companies that need to train their staff. So that's kind of what I do in the studio. I came here in my electric car today, and generally when I'm going somewhere, I'll just ring up and say, is there somewhere I can charge? And generally the answer is not yet, Glen. We're planning on that. Well, Simon said, no worries, Glen. We've got a 350 kilowatt charging facility up there in terms of PV power. We've got multiple charging points for you. And this is probably news to you. You're about to get 3 75 kilowatt super fast chargers just out the front as you come in the secure gate. So that's going to be great for charging your own cars when you turn up here.
Yes.
Just in terms of electric vehicles, by the way, since I came in one, people often ask me, how often do you have to charge? What about range? So the range of my vehicle's sticker range is 570 kilometres. That would be if you drove very, very carefully. In practice, it's more like 400 and something. But what I like to say is that the range of your electric vehicle needs to be greater than the range of your bladder. Because you've got to stop sometime and you might as well charge. And if you're planning a trip, you're going along major routes in Australia, there are charging facilities at many of the service centres, and they're very fast these days. You often can charge in the time it takes to go and get a cup of coffee and go to the toilet and walk back to your car, and your car's already charged, and at a fraction of the cost that you would have paid if you had to fill up at the petrol station. You've done some analysis on this, Simon.
We have. Thank you, Glen. So in the latest price submission, we did some analysis on our fleet over the past couple of years, and what we've worked out is that when we were paying about $1.30 a litre for fuel, it was costing us a bit over $13 to send a car 100 kilometres. And that compares to forecast of about $3 to send an electric vehicle over that 100 kilometres. As you know, fuel prices have been going up. It's probably closer to $20 now. And as our renewable projects come to life, that $3 is falling for us. So there's an economic incentive to transition to the EV electric vehicles, not just an environmental one.
Thanks, Simon. Anyway, I'll get back on message, which is about sustainability and energy efficiency. So I've got these 5 bullet points. These are really ways that you can use in the home to reduce the cost of electricity and to be more sustainable at the same time. From easiest to hardest and from cheapest to most expensive. The easiest actually is don't stay with the same electricity retailer. There's a thing called the loyalty tax. If you're loyal to your retailer, they're going to charge you more because they'll have a sweet deal for you to transit from another retailer to them, and that sweet deal expires typically after a year, and you go back to the standard pricing model, which is always more. So use websites like the Victorian Government Switched On website to find the best retailers for your particular pattern of energy use. So that's an easy one. Alan Pears reckons you can save 10 to 15% just by changing retailers regularly. So it's a no-brainer. It's a phone call. Energy efficient appliances is next on the list. We've had the mandatory energy performance scheme for a couple of decades now, and that's made a big difference to the embedded kind of efficiency within many homes. Buying appliances that have a higher star rating save you money, particularly when you look at the total cost of ownership. You might pay more for a 5-star fridge than a 3-star fridge, but over the period that you've owned it, which is typically 10 years or more, it's going to save you. So just plan those purchases. The star rating is real. It's not a phony thing. It's regulated. There's a government website called energyrating.gov.au where you can compare the efficiency of different appliances and their energy use. Just reduce energy is point number 3. Now, this is simple things like turning stuff off. actually taking opportunities to do it manually or automate it. Like lighting is often, certainly in commercial buildings, done with motion sensors, but in your home it's more likely that you'll just remember to turn stuff off at the wall. You can even get devices that detect there's no one in the room, such as your TV console center with all the devices you have turns itself off when no one's sitting in front of it for a period of time. Unfortunately, some of them also turn it off if you stay still for too long. You just move every so often. So living people are fine. It's when you're not moving. Installing solar panels. Now, people often think, obviously, that's going to be the first choice. It's not. It's all those ones before and going down to spending lots of money. Now, if you're going to outlay money on solar panels, there's going to be a payback. And whether it's solar panels for electricity, solar panels for hot water, or a heat pump, they all are going to save you money over the life of those systems. But the payback's getting shorter and shorter. I'll give you economics in a minute on a case study. But heat pumps is the last on that list, not because it's the least desirable. It's actually a very useful way of capturing solar energy without having to have solar panels. Now, you might think, how can this thing that looks like a hot water tank capture energy from the sun? Well, actually, the air is heated by the sun. So you're capturing low-grade heat in the atmosphere, and through a small amount of electricity use, through a refrigeration cycle, you're converting that to high-grade heat and heating water. So it's typically a 3 to 5 times boost. So it's 3 to 5 times more efficient than your old resistive hot water element. The last on my list is installing batteries. I put it there because people get excited about batteries. Funnily enough, my company do solar design software, and we noticed about 25 of all designs that customers are doing are for battery systems. They're very popular, but they don't necessarily save you money. So just beware that something that stores energy isn't generating energy. And so it's got a longer payback because you've got to capture it with free energy, from the sun, put it in your battery, and use that at nighttime rather than buying electricity. So I'll give you a payback comparison in a minute. Why do people choose renewable energy? Things like saving money, using more clean energy. They want for sort of feel-good reasons maybe, or for environmental sustainability reasons. And also if they want to be more self-reliant. That could be you don't want to lose power when the grid fails. Now, if that is your requirement, you do need batteries. Solar inverters don't really work at nighttime. They need batteries and battery storage system to work when the sun's not shining. So self-reliance or resilience is another reason. Here's a simple one for you. You might be thinking about a battery, but have you thought about converting your existing hot water tank, if it's a resistive element one, the old inefficient ones that's still fine, hasn't yet failed, to a giant battery? Well, it is already a giant battery. It stores heat. And if you can source that heat from free renewable energy using something known as a solar diverter that diverts any surplus that you're not using into your tank, you're actually converting your hot water tank into a giant battery. Typically, something like a $5,000 to $10,000 battery would store the same amount of energy as your hot water tank does already. Is your roof suitable for solar? I get that question a lot from people. Really, if you've got reasonable access to the sun, so you're not underneath a great big tree, it doesn't really matter which way your roof faces. You're going to still get some solar energy, whether it's east, west, north, or south. And for extreme comparison, I've just shown north versus south for a 30-degree pitched roof here in Melbourne, the annual average energy falling on that roof. And as you can see, a south-facing roof is 75% as good as a north-facing roof. Fun fact, a south-facing roof in Brisbane is better than a north-facing roof in Melbourne. It's all about latitude. So here you go. There are two rebate schemes, two main rebate schemes. There's a state-based one and a federal-based one for renewable energy. The Solar Victoria has got all of these schemes open at the moment. I just checked this morning. And so you can have one of those 7 or 8 options. So you can have solar PV, solar hot water, solar battery, etc. And that doesn't exclude the fact that you can still get the federal rebate as well. So you get kind of like 2 assistance packages, one from the state government, one from the federal government. And at the moment, a typical 6.6 kilowatt system is going to generate around about $2,300 worth of certificates, which represent the renewable energy over the life of that system, in fact, over the 8 years up to 2030. And so that's a discount that you get from your retailer when you purchase it. So you don't have to go and claim them. Solar inverters, if you've never seen one, there's a picture of a typical one. They go on the outside of your house generally. They're weatherproof, but you do want to keep them out of direct sunlight because they can thermally derate. They need adequate ventilation. Your installer will know all this, and they should be in a location where you can inspect them to make sure they're still working and that there's no alarms are going off. If you've got a solar inverter already, the red one, and you want to add battery storage, you can. So you can get a separate inverter called a battery inverter. It doesn't have solar panels connected to it, it has batteries connected to it. But if you're doing a new installation, you can get an all-in-one solution, a hybrid inverter. So a hybrid inverter has inputs for solar panels, input for batteries, and input for the grid. And many of them also have a backup circuit as well. So it's all in one. So it's a simpler installation. You might have heard of the Tesla battery, which in fact actually is a battery and an inverter in a box. It's a retrofit solution for someone who's already got solar. If you're doing a new installation with a Tesla battery, you're still going to need a solar inverter as well. So it's just a battery with an inverter in a box. Very popular, but there are actually many other batteries on the market. So I don't think it's just a Tesla thing. If you've got a roof with shading problems, sometimes you will want to install devices that optimize the good unshaded panels so that the shaded ones don't compromise the performance of the system. And there's an example here of these little boxes that go on the back of the panels. I've done a little analysis here of my next door neighbour's house where we put these optimizers on their roof. And you notice the fourth panel from the left is a darker blue. It's not working so well. And that's because if you look at the picture of the house below, it's got shade on that panel. So all the rest of the panels are working fine. That's the advantage of optimizers. But you can also get these things called microinverters that do the same thing. So don't rule out a roof with some shade. Batteries can be used to store energy, to provide self-use at nighttime with your solar that you've stored. They can provide backup, but not all battery systems provide backup. If you want it, you've got to make sure it does. There's a few that don't. And there are many technologies out there that work in a safe way. Location is one of the main challenges, though, when installing a battery. There's a lot of regulation about where you can put them in a domestic home. This is a little case study of a house in Healesville. We installed solar facing east and west. So north is at the top of the picture. And we did the economics for them. This was done back in 2017. So the payback for just the 5 kilowatt system with no batteries was around 4.5 years, or 5 years actually, 5 years and 1 month. If we added a battery to it, a Powerwall 2 at the time, it pushed out that payback to a bit over 8 years, 10 months, and the warranty is only 10 years. So it's more or less the warranty period on the battery. So you can see that the payback really pushes out with battery storage. That's my home. My home's kind of got all of the good things in terms of renewables, PV water heating, dedicated PV water heating, solar thermal water heating, PV power and battery storage, and a diverter as well. About 10 kilowatts on the home, and like I said, I live off-grid. It's completely autonomous. So I live on an off-grid community. I mentioned that at the beginning. Without power for the last 48 years now, and it's no problem at all. We've got like 7 electric cars in our co-op now, and growing. And I have a little show that I do on YouTube, Smart Energy Lab. I sometimes ham it up a little bit to make it fun, but it's really technical stuff. So if you're interested in the technical side of renewables, there you go. There's my show. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Glen. I do have a little present for you for coming along today. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to say, don't open it inside. It might be bad luck, but I think it's an umbrella. Maybe you'll need it today. Who knows? The sun's not shining. But once again, I'd really like to thank Glen for coming along and sharing his knowledge and wisdom with everybody. As you said, we're going to package this up. We're going to put it on a source article. And we'll put some links in there to give you some access to information for you to start your sustainability journey in your home. Give it up for Glen.